Woohoo! All right. And we're about a minute early, according to the recording. Otherwise, hey, I've been on here for 20 minutes and just talking to myself. Okay. And we're all good on all that. So awesome. So, okay. According to my clock, it's 10 a.m. Pacific time. We'll go ahead and get started. And of course, I've got the Jim Ruta here with us today. You think that with an introduction like you don't need an introduction, but I required one anyway. So Jim sent me this, and this is really good. So first, Jim Ruta wrote over 100 lives in his first year as a life insurance agent at the age of 22. But by 40, he was leading one of Canada's largest life insurance agencies. Today, he coaches a roster of agents ranging from MDRT aspirants, that means people getting started, to top of the table qualifiers, including industry icon Van Miller. Jim, of course, has spoken 4 times at the MDRT annual meeting, including the main platform. He's written 4 books, including, and I'm going to throw out this one, How to Win Sales and Increase Profits. And I have highlighted this thing, as you can just be flipping through here. I've highlighted this thing pretty well. You need this book. He's written 4 books and is a regular columnist in industry magazines. Jim's new Solace School of Life Insurance Sales makes the sales secrets of world-class advisors available to anyone. He's also co-founder and host of the Canada Sales Congress. Now, what you don't know about Jim, he spent the first 6 months of his life in hospital, suspected of polio, and recovered through the power of prayer. Always love the power of prayer. He is classically trained violinist, and I tell you, once I get a clarinet, we got to play. I don't know what, but we'll play something. He is a trained emergency medical technician, so when I run out of breath playing the clarinet, he can probably help me with that. He's a licensed private pilot and a former alpine ski instructor. Jim's mission, and he does this with everything he does, is to preserve, promote, and propel the life insurance advisor business. So, ladies and gentlemen, the Jim Ruta.
Well, David, thank you very much. It's great to be with you and the folks through this great group that you put together. So today I want to talk to you about how to be more authoritative and be the best advisor you can be. I just gave this talk, interestingly enough, in Moscow. Of course, it was virtual based on travel restrictions and the rest of it and COVID, but just gave this talk in Moscow. And I can't get over how much and how similar advisors are around the world. So even though we were having concurrent translation on Saturday, which is when it was something that, everybody wants. So the language wasn't a barrier to the meeting and to the concept that we're talking about today. So let's talk about being authoritative. You see, if you're not authoritative in your marketplace, people won't take your calls. They won't agree to appointments. They won't take your advice. They won't buy what you're selling. They won't refer you. They won't introduce you, and they will move their business at the slightest provocation or opportunity. Let's face it, being authoritative is a critical aspect to your success, whatever you do in this business at any level. After all, and I think it's important to remember this, you are in the influence business when you are an advisor. So when you're more authoritative, more of your clients will take your recommendations and benefit from your advice. And really, that's the main reason we do this anyway, isn't it? To get people to take our advice. And this is, I think, especially important today when so much business is done virtually. This is something that really applies, especially today more than ever. And that's why style is so critical. And let me just say this, there are really 2 kinds of advisors in this world. There are style advisors and there are substance advisors. Style advisors, the people that have a great show, a great program, great presentation. And then there's the substance advisors. Those people have great, deep technical knowledge. They know everything about everything. 2 kinds of advisors. Now, I'm going to ask a rhetorical question. Who do you think gets paid more? And I can tell you, almost everybody will tell you it's style advisors. My good buddy, Van Miller, he's got deep knowledge, but you would not really know that. Of course, he says he knows nothing, which is a lie.
Biggest lie.
Biggest lie of all time. But that's what he says. You buy from him because of the style, because of the way he operates and what he does. And that's what we want to talk about today. So here are some powerful ways to be more authoritative in any sales situation. Number one, I think you really want to remember that you want to speak to your expertise only. You see, authority is not about guessing. Only make recommendations based upon expertise, experience, and deep knowledge. If you are in above your pay grade or out of your league or out of your depth or in an area where you are an amateur, your advice will never be valued and you will not be authoritative. You won't be influential. You see, amateur advice is often overly complicated. The reason is simple. The professional takes the complicated and makes it simple. The amateur takes the simple and makes it complicated. So to be authoritative, you must do something that I was told many years ago. We were talking about this before we started in Toastmasters. It was a great line about speeches, but it applies perfectly well to the financial advice business. And here's the line. You've got to know your stuff. You've got to know who you're stuffing, and then you can stuff them. There just is no other way. You see, being a jack of all advice, so to speak, is not authoritative. You see, when you try to be, you will be a master of none, and your advice will not be valued because it's just too general. And no one thinks that general advice applies to them. So always be prepared to use other subject matter experts when you are out of your depth. This will enhance your credibility. It enhances your credibility and your reputation. And you want to build an ecosystem. This is a new word, by the way, David, the ecosystem for this business, an ecosystem of complementary strategic alliances to build full service for your clients. This is the way it goes. A good friend of mine, Jim Rogers, who is former president of the $1 Million Roundtable and a top of the table producer out of Vancouver, Canada, was top of the table for 1 million years. Well, not quite, but well, when I would see him personally, I would say it's been 1 million years, and he would. But anyway, that's the story. But here's something you don't know about shared business. Top of the table for a very long time, president of the $1 Million Roundtable, and he made all of his money at 30% commission. 30% of the commission, because his job was to introduce, Dave Kinder to, Dave McKnight. That's his job. He got 30 points on the total comp. Everything else went somebody else. He made top of the table for decades doing that. So that's what I mean by doing that. Now, here's the second thing that I think is important as far as authority. And you want to use what I call the best first question ever. And it really is. And before you get into what you want to talk about, it's very smart to determine what advice answers your prospect's current hot button. What's their hot button concern? And that's where they're particularly interested, will invest the time to handle, have the money to deal with, and will act on today. That's really a huge deal here, isn't it? And the best first question ever then is simply this. Mr. Kinder, obviously you had a reason for agreeing to meet with me today. Would you mind sharing with me what that is? Mr. Kinder, obviously you had a reason for agreeing to meet with me today. Would you mind telling me what that is? Just a simple question. And whatever their answer, positive or even negative, you are getting to their number one want from that meeting, their want from the meeting. And targeting your advice to their primary wants first is the best way to be heard and to be authoritative. When you start with their top priority and work from there, you will get the best buy-in and you will be more authoritative. Someone says, well, negative questions, Jim, that would be a thing. Sure. Or negative response. What if they say, well, Dave says to me, well, Jim, you've been bugging me for 3 years for an appointment. I thought finally I would give you an appointment. We would spend 20 minutes together and I could finally get rid of you. But even that would be perfect. So, Dave, I would say, what you're telling me is that I better be really, really good today if I want to see you again. Is that pretty much the story? Yeah, that would be, sure. And off you go. Number 3, never tell them what they need. What? Yes, always ask them what they want, as my friend Tony Gordon from the UK says. And you hear this, echoes of this in so many different people, Van Miller being among them. This ensures that your advice is most effective. And the best way to get at what a prospect wants is to ask what I call want questions. So clients make an emotional connection with their problem. You see, when they know what they want, they will ask you to help them get it. And then you can help them, or then you can tell them what they need to make it happen. And when they ask you for help, boom, presto, they have just made you their advisor. A great line from my buddy Van Miller. When they start asking you for help, you're the advisor. Now you can tell them something. So discover your prospect wants before you ever talk about their needs. When you know what they want, you can introduce needs that will make them happen. Now think about it this way. Want is client talk. Clients talk about what they want. And need is advisor talk. Prospects tell advisors what they want, and then you, as the advisor, translate those wants into the products and services they need to achieve it. It's really simple, but it is wildly powerful. So many times I work with clients, with advisors around the world, say, well, how do I get at this? How do I pitch that product? Or we even talk about pitching benefits. Well, I'll tell them all about the benefits, but none of that matters unless it means something to them. And it only means something to them if it's reflected or it reflects a want that they have. I want, look, it happened. I've got a contractor spending the last 6 months, apparently, trying to redo our bathroom upstairs in the house. He never asks me what I want. He just does stuff. Half the time it's wrong. And so that's why it's going on and on and on. But say, what do you want this to look like? How's it supposed to be? And when he knew that, if he ever asked, but he doesn't, then you would actually find out. So for the life business, you want to ask for what I call their life wants, or their essential financial security expectations for their particular lifestyle. And I call this essential financial security. To me, this is the most important part of what we do. By the way, these are the things you can do without a full financial plan, but that help people get started on the essential financial security. Life insurance, disability insurance, long-term care insurance, health insurance, whatever those things are, you know, you need a will, power of attorney, whatever, there are some essentials. You don't have to plan for that. Well, I better do a 500-page report to see what kind of life insurance you need, right? What does my buddy in Pasadena, California, you know, a Selfie Taylor say? Life insurance, pretty straightforward product. He says you need 20 times your income, your gross income in term insurance, plus you add a few expenses, mortgage, add a few things, bury it, that kind of thing. Bob's your uncle. Well, no, Jim, we better get involved in this very deeply. We better do the analysis. No, you don't. By the way, remember this. You always want to make sure that people are planning product, style, ownership, premium, whatever that is. Planning while protected, not planning while exposed. Anyway, yes. For this one idea here is the most basic and important advisor sales skills at all. That's to uncover the wants so that you can authoritatively create and present their needs. You know what they need based upon what they want. It's not that complicated. So this is how, remember, say, well, I don't want to sell to people. I want them to buy from me. This is what Van says all the time. I'm like a proponent of Van. Let's face it, he and I have been like best pals for 16 years. So sometimes it's like I'm talking, or is it just him? We don't even know. Sometimes, in fact, he doesn't talk. I just talk for him and he moves his mouth. No, he doesn't. No, he'll kill me if he said, no, actually he wouldn't, but we're too close. So, but this is how you get people to buy from you rather than having to sell to them. So you want to ask want questions. And let me give you some. And some of this first one here, or actually some of these are nothing new, but think about it this way. You know, if you didn't make it home one day or contracted a life-altering illness, do you want to leave your family a home or a mortgage? Do you want the debts that you create while you're alive to last longer than you do? If you're to become sick or injured and couldn't work, do you want the financial security of a guaranteed income. If something were to happen to you, do you want your children to grieve and recover with your spouse or a babysitter? Can you hear Van?
Yep.
What do you want to happen when you die? What do you want to happen when you become disabled? But the reason I'm telling you this, Van sometimes hardly knows how good this stuff is. Because he wouldn't necessarily know about the wants, but I look from the outside, and that's why we work together. So I said, Van, do you know what you're doing? Yeah, oh, that's very good. I'll write that down. So what really happens is he coaches himself, feed it back to him, and he pays me money. It's really the best arrangement of all time. But it's just a great thing. Now, there is a need recommendation, and that's the cool thing. There's lots of stuff. Hey, you know, if on the way home today, you became part of the grill work on a Mack truck, you know, would you want your wife to stay in the house that you built for your family? By the way, that's a Roger Zener line. I don't know whether that's available anywhere, David, but Roger Zener, great friend of mine, died far too early, probably 20 years ago now. Amazing, amazing man. So, but that's the whole story. So there's a need recommendation for every want that you ask. Want questions are based on the benefits of the product and the services that you offer. You're asking about what they want so that you can highlight what your products do, not what they are. And people buy based on what they want, not what they need. Right? That reminds me when I bought my Porsche 911 Carrera 4. Didn't buy that because I needed it. Believe me. I bought it because I wanted it. Nobody needs to pay $2,500 a month to lease a car like I did. Anyway, so get their wants and their needs to make them happen. And whether their needs to make them happen they're very clear there. So recommending products based upon what a prospect wants is the magic for more authority, better buy-in, right? If they buy into your idea, they'll buy what you're selling. And of course, more sales. Number 4. Look, I think we call ourselves advisors. And I say, I don't know, step out on a limb and actually advise them. Speaking authoritatively with your clients has never been more important than it is today. If you call yourself an advisor, like I said a second ago, I say go out on the limb and actually advise them authoritatively. After all, if you can't tell me what I need, why do I need you? And we have a lot of this stuff in this business. So it happens where we kind of give people a selection of ideas and let them be their own advisor. I'll talk about that in a minute. Think about this. The number one need that consumers have from their financial advisor today is for leadership. And it's never more important than leadership in the dark. If Canada, the United States, pick a country, if we only had leaders and not followers who figure out which way the parade is headed, and then they run to the front of the line, which apparently happens not only in Canada, but of course, your wonderful political system in the United States. But we're full of that. They're all like that. We don't lead with authority. We just sort of figure out which way the parade's headed and off we go. So when you speak with authority, remember this, you light the way through the darkness to solve their problems. On Saturday, I was the opening act for Saul Hicks, and he talks all about bringing the light. And it's like Saul and I have been brothers for so long. I love that guy. But that's what you're doing. You're bringing the light to people. And today's many uncertainties make it very dark. It's dark out there financially. Top advisors always speak as having authority, and that comes from competence. Here's something you want to write down. Competence creates confidence that gives you courage to handle your clients authoritatively. Competence creates confidence that gives you the courage to handle your clients authoritatively. You have to know what you're talking about. Now, to do this, you want to start eliminating tentativeness. Many advisors speak tentatively when advising their clients. Really, they sound like they come from a position of weakness, or they provide options, like I said a minute ago, as if they were all equal, when certainly one of the suggestions is the best one. So I say, don't be an optioneer. Well, here's one, here's two, here's three, pick one. Don't do that. You're not, think about this. That makes them, that means they have to be their own advisor. People want leadership from you. And you know this to be true because you know, well, I think you should do this, this, or that. People go, and what do they say, David? Well,
I don't know. What do you think?
what do you think I should do? What, right?
Mhm.
Why not stand up, realize that you know enough to be authoritative and do this? Now, does that mean there's no options? Of course there are. But you present options when they won't take your first and your best advice. Not a problem. Your doctor does this all the time. Well, I don't want that operation. Well, if you don't want that operation, then take this medication. And would you at least try that? Well, okay. Right? That's the deal. So there is no authority.
Die sooner.
Sorry?
Or you just die sooner. I mean, that's always
Well,
an
yeah,
option.
whatever. I'll take a couple aspirins, and if you wake up in the morning, give me a call.
Yeah.
Right? That's the story. But there is no authority in leaving them with a handful of options and then hope they make the right decision on their own. So remove tentative language from your advice like, well, I'm not sure what you want to do, or here's an option you may want to consider, or maybe this applies to you, or maybe this will help, Dave, or, well, what would you like to do? Like, I have no friggin' idea. My lawyer, I was a young kid. I was 22 years old. I needed a will because it was part of the contract I had with the company I worked with then. I go to get a will, and first thing my lawyer says, well, what do you want in it? I said, oh, how do I know? Well, lawyer, tell me what I should do. That's what I want. So be authoritative. Mr. Prospector, after speaking with you, this is the program I recommend. I know it'll meet your goals. You will get greater compliance with your recommendations and create more peace of mind for your client. And remember, peace of mind equals quality of life. Number 5, inspire your clients. Lead them where they ought to go, not just where they want to go. Inspiring advice that you absolutely believe in and take yourself is absolutely the most powerful thing you can do. This is why Van Miller tows around a roller bag with all of his life insurance policies in it. And then he would say, well, Dave, if you, what I want you to have one of these. Here's a good book. I want you to have this policy. Look at this one. Look at that. You notice the cash value on page 6? That's what I want you to have. See, if I have it, I will be much more convincing. If you don't own everything you want to sell, buy it. I'll give you an example. I have a client, 2 years ago, I took him on. He went from $150,000 last year, almost $400,000. One of the things he did, I complained and whined and moaned and did the full BMW treatment about this one idea. BMW, yeah, bitching, moaning, and whining. That's what I did. I just went right at him. I said, you don't own enough and you're asking people to spend money. Real money, you don't even own the stuff. Well, Jim, $20,000 a year is a lot of money for a premium. And so how can you ask if you think that? You can't. So he bought a $15,000 annual premium. Last year, right after he bought it about a year ago. After that, he sold 5 more just like it. You see, because he inspired his clients. Because if you want to be inspiring, be inspired. And he was. See, your passion for your service and its ultimate value attracts more new business, more referrals and introductions than anything else you do. Anybody, Van Miller, you just say, whatever he's selling, I want to have some of that. Right? There's no question. Dave McKnight, same way. Tom Love, you buy the passion. And some of us are, well, Mr. Kinder, I'm not sure what you really would like to do, but here are 4 or 5 different options. If any one of them is fine, just please choose whatever you think would be best. And you go, and I don't know why he won't buy anything. Really? Yeah. Okay. So your advice is more valued and more authoritative when it's delivered with energy and enthusiasm. No, I don't mean over the top stuff, but all things being equal, your enthusiasm makes the difference. Your passion is just the outer expression of your inner inspiration and even your authority. Like I said, be enthusiastic, but not overdone when you present. But enthusiasm is catchy. And if you don't believe, they won't believe and they won't act. So model top advisor passion when delivering your advice, and you will join them at the top. And, some people say, well, Jim, I could never do it your way. You're kind of a guy that would jump up and down on stage and do all kinds of weird stuff, which I would. Saul Hicks will sing, "This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine." Right? He'll sing that whole song. You say, well, I can't do that. Don't do that. But still have the energy, still have the passion. People will feel that more than anything. Number 6, you want to be a thought leader. You see, today, deep knowledge is the secret weapon of top advisors. It makes the average awesome and the mediocre magnificent. Thought leadership. You see, superficial knowledge and understanding about your field is easy for prospects to spot, and it marks you as average at best. Then when that happens, people will discount your advice and are less inclined to do what you recommend. And this is why you need to be an expert in a specific field. As someone said many years ago to me, and I stole, and I now say it's mine, he said, you must be specific to be terrific. It's true. Highest paid doctors, highest paid lawyers, highest paid anything are the ones that are specific in terms of what they do. Up here in Canada, I think the highest paid doctors are ophthalmologists, the guys that do LASIK surgery on your eyeballs or something. I had a friend of mine going back 30 years. The guy could make like $600 every 6 minutes. It was bizarre. That's going back 30 years. I think Huey today, long since retired, because he hasn't run out of eyeballs, that's for sure. But so this is why you need to be an expert in a specific field. And if you can do that, you make a difference. So when you're a thought leader, what happens? Well, here's what happens. You will make appointments with impossible prospects because you will know the words, the questions, and the stories you need to attract their interest. Rather their attention and their interest. A story, that's word. Think about this: words, stories, questions. This is a Tom Hegna thing. This is a Van Miller thing. This is an anybody who's paying attention thing. It's all about the words. Ben Feldman, of course, Marv was a client of mine for a little while, and Marv is still a great friend. But his dad was a master of words.
Yes.
Right. And what is Gail Goodman? My pal Gail Goodman. By the way, if you don't have Gail's book, this one here, Modern Appointment Setting, go online to phoneteacher.com, phoneteacher.com. This is the best book on the topic you'll ever want to meet. But Gail, what does Gail say? Well, Gail says, words are things. Words have meaning. You know that from anybody who speaks. You know that. Power of zero. Gee, Dave, did that actually help out anywhere? Yeah, a little bit, right? So you'll make appointments with impossible people. You will answer the most difficult objections effectively because, frankly, you'll have the necessary background and perspective to appreciate the questions behind the questions. Remember, the objection, you have to answer the question behind the objection. Yeah, right. You don't actually answer the objection, you answer the question. How do you figure that out? Not that complicated. So Dave, if I understand you correctly, what you're really asking then is not, by the way, I wouldn't say this way, but they said, Dave says, it's just too expensive. So Dave, if I understand what you're saying, what you're really saying is, how do I fit this into my budget based upon what I'm currently spending? Is that pretty much what you're saying? Yeah, that's it. Oh, now it's a question. Question's easy. You're going to create irreplaceable product or solution recommendations, meaning that no one can replace them, and you will maintain the business you have with your client. Irreplaceable recommendations. You will make sales where none were obvious because you know the angles necessary to attract even those who have no obvious need. Pretty much everybody needs this or can use this stuff. They just don't know it. But if you're deep on this, you do. You'll make larger sales out of smaller ones, and then mega sales out of a regular large one because you know the reasons and rationale why it makes sense to promote the full need and not just the small part of it, like the average advisor would. I was on the phone with one of my advisor clients this morning, and they're doing some joint work. A 27-year-old advisor ran into a multi-billionaire client in Montreal. And it turns out the potential premium is $3 million. Per year. Now, that would be a big case even for Dave Kinder, but that's what I'm talking about. That's the kind of possibility. You'll also invent amazing new ideas. When you have deep knowledge in your field, you will naturally become more creative in producing solutions to client problems. You'll invent stuff like, oh yeah, power of zero, or questions. You know, I always like that. What was the name of your second CD set, Van? More questions. Yeah, okay. Very crafty, that fellow. I love them. Anyway, please understand one thing. I love that man more than my own family. My brothers, as a good example, which are all fine, by the way. It's all good. Sorry?
I won't tell your family you said that.
Yeah, well, they're not going to be here anytime soon anyway, so we'll be fine. So you will create marketing that gets great prospects calling you. You see, your super knowledge about something is the basis for all the great marketing that you'll ever do. If you've got super knowledge about something, man, you will get something. The little things you know can be the big things that get people to call you for more help. You'll also attract more A-list referrals and introductions that bring in even more business. Super knowledge is very compelling to high-end clients, and it builds your brand in the marketplace. To be a top advisor, so learn the information that helps you do what you do better and provide more effective and compelling advice. Look, general industry knowledge is good. Of course it is. You need to know what else is going on out there. But compelling expertise comes from knowledge focused on what you do specifically. Number 7, whatever you do, whenever you present, start strong when you begin any presentation. Make a compelling statement or ask a challenging question. Repeat or then answer that question or statement at the end to close the circle. There is a process to all of this. There really is. You must know how to start if you want to be authoritative. Number 8, remember this, ad libs are for amateurs. Always script your talking points so you get the best ideas out in the best order. Advisors with a system prosper. Without, they fail, period. By the way, you can have it all written down in front of you too. You can, especially in this world where we're doing things virtually. There's no rule that says you can't have. You're seeing a client. What, you can't have an agenda in front of you? You can't have a list of. You can't. Yeah, of course you can. But we need. Look, my job as a coach is as much to give people permission to do the things they think might be a good idea, but maybe there's a little bit of. Well, I don't know. Maybe I shouldn't be involved here. No. Van Miller says that. Write it down. Say, well, you know, I hope you don't mind, David, but I've written some questions down so that I make sure that I answer them all. I get so excited. He says, I lose track sometimes. Would it be okay? What does the client say?
Yeah,
they say, of course. Hell yeah, go. Bring it. Right? And that's what you want to know. Give you an example. A top advisor I know with more than 45 years experience, and the guy makes about $20 million a year. So he's, well, it's Canadian money, so maybe it's like 50 bucks a year. But anyway, no, you know, like millions of dollars, right? He makes millions of bucks. Anyway, he's got more than 45 years, and he has all of his telephone scripts and his sales scripts on a 85-inch monitor in front of him as he makes his calls. And he does all of his work by telephone, and he did before COVID hammered him anyway. He's been a phone guy. Now he does a little bit of work on Zoom. But this way, you see, he's certain to draw on his best material when speaking to a prospect to give him the very best chance to get the result that he wants. And he doesn't miss many. He doesn't miss many. Number 9, use half the words you think you need.
I need to work on that one.
Yeah, we can. By the way, you know, because you know what happens, Dave? You know this. You will sell something to somebody, and then in 30 minutes, and then in the next 15 minutes, you'll buy it back. Because we don't know when to shut up. And look, you're looking at a guy right now who did that for a long time. You don't have to do it that way. Use fewer words. I said that little that introduction that I sent to Dave was about 170 words, I think, roughly 2 minutes, depending on how fast you'd read that. Roughly, maybe a little bit less. Roughly.
Well,
2 minutes.
I ad-libbed around it because I wanted to bring some life to it. So that was.
And here's my point. Here's my point. I started with 400 words. I pulled a whole bunch of stuff out. Did it make a difference to you? No, I think it was just fine. And Dave, you did a great job with it. So
Thank
you want to do that. So half number of words. You see, the idea is to speak simply with short sentences, short words, and simple ideas. When you do, you will connect with anyone. What does Hagna keep doing? Well, I got these cows. My buddy, here's an example of something you'll love. My buddy Bhupinder Anand, who was on this program somewhere, will talk about this. He got these great dice. And he'll talk about, your chance, if, for example, if we rolled this dice and you got a 1, where are we? A 1 or a 6, and you'd lose your house, would you ever roll the dice? And you're going, a 1 or a 6? No chance. I'm not giving my house up on a roll of a dice. He says, but on the other hand, isn't that exactly what you do every day? Because you've got a 1 in 3 chance right now of losing your house based upon a critical illness, a life-altering illness. You're already rolling the dice. Why don't we make this dice just go away? So what a great point. But Einstein said that simplicity was the highest form of sophistication. He also said that if you couldn't explain an idea simply, you just didn't know your topic well enough. And how true is that? Dang, I watch this all day long. People with 20 years in the business, and you go a little bit, you kind of skim the top, they're all good. You kind of go in a little bit deeper. Well, how does that work? Well, I don't know. I never really, And by the way, not knowing and saying, well, I'll check it out, Dave, and I'll get back to you is one thing. But you know what a lot of people do? They don't want to look bad. So what they do, they make it up. And if you want to screw a relationship up with a client, just make crap up. Just do that, because that's a very effective tool in screwing up a client relationship. So this is exactly why there is only so much you can know, and why you need to focus your expertise and your experience. No one can know everything about everything. You want to be a foot wide and a mile deep, not a mile wide and a foot deep. You know what? You go for a stroll in the ocean of the knowledge of some advisors, and you scarcely get your ankles wet. That's what happens. Dave, I just love, you can be on my call all the time. I don't need a laugh track for those great stories. But anyway, but that's what happens. You see, top professionals will take complicated topics and make them simple. And are there complicated topics in this business? Oh, baby, are there topics? But you know what? If you explain it so the account understands it and the client's going, bleh, it's not very helpful. You got to get the client's buy-in. You can explain more deeply to some technical person later on. See, amateurs take simple topics and make them complicated. Remember, if anyone can understand your advice, then anyone can take it. But if it takes a PhD to understand what needs to be done, you will not be authoritative. Number 10, speak more slowly than you may want to. Now, look, you're looking at a guy, and I was telling David this earlier before we started. I used to stutter and stammer when I was a kid. I did. And sometimes it happens too. I'll slide in there once in a while. And I was always afraid of talking too slowly for fear I would say something like that. So I want to talk faster. I want to give you more information. But see, an authoritative pace is about 80 to 90 words per minute. Oh, by the way, when I was talking in Russia and I said this, the Russian said to me, no, Jim, it's not like that here. Here, it is much slower than that, maybe 40 words, 50 words max, because Russian is just that much more complicated. And you know this, the people who, James Earl Jones, he's not rushing through anything, but man, does it make a difference, right? So rushing is less authoritative. That means leaving time between phrases, just for effect. And that's a huge authority builder. Now, number 11, for video and virtual sales work, stand up to make the best impression. So I'm standing up here in my studio. This is a television monitor behind me. I can change this. I could go into, I could give you another version. No, I can't. There's nothing. Sorry, the wrong slide here. But I could change the background if I was playing another. I got computers everywhere here, but that's not plugged in on me today. But you know what? If you're going to do the virtual sales work, you want to stand up. So I'm standing up because you know what? I'm way better standing up than I am sitting down every single time. And you can rearrange your life so that that works for you. You want to ensure that the top of your head almost touches the top of the frame. And you can see that's about where I am. I might be actually a little bit too close. I could be a little bit lower, but that's the way it is. I'm standing on a very expensive, thick cushion underneath so that I can stand up here for an hour or two. And this same kind of stuff they have, I think, in grocery stores, I think, for checkout cashiers. Anyway, that's sort of idea. So ensure that the top here is on the top of your frame, and to ensure your hands are visible to make and you'll be more believable in your presentations. If your whole thing is like
I'm doing wrong right now, but okay.
No, but look, if I never move my hands, if you can't tell my hands are moving, it's not the same. But if I'm doing something, if I get closer, if I come back, and I've got a studio camera here, but if that's what gets people involved. You see, it's also critical that you look directly at the lens of the camera at a level line so that people know you're talking to them. If I'm talking like this the entire time, a lot of people spend all their time talking down, depending on how their cameras are set up on their laptops or notebooks, whatever, with their webcam. But remember this, when you look at the lens of your camera, you're looking right into the soul of your prospect, of your client. And that's what makes a huge difference. So you want to make sure that's easy. So by the way, this isn't always easy, but it is important. And you know what? I don't do it 100% of the time either, but you can look away, you can try, I'm looking down, I got my notes in front of me. So I'm doing those things, but you practice and you can make that happen. So you want to also, but by the way, doing that is what separates amateurs from professionals every single time. Be animated when you talk so that you look alive. Proper production value is thus far into the pandemic virtual world is really a necessity if you want to be authoritative. I cannot believe how often some people they don't even think about it. But the expectations of you and how you produce your presentations is going up. The expectation is greater. Finally, number 12, you want to practice. And Van says this, Tom says this, I say this, Marv Feldman, Tony Gordon, Bhupinder Anand, Pickett, any hot David, Tom Love, everybody, they will all tell you practice. You see, no top advisor gets there in any discipline without practicing. And really, there are two kinds of practice. The one where you stand up and repeatedly read your scripts dozens of times. Stand up and read them out loud. And the idea, by the way, is not to practice until you get it right, but until you can't get it wrong. Practice until you can't get it wrong. And there's a huge difference between getting it right and can't get it wrong. And it means the world to you in terms of your ability to produce high-end business and to have high production value. I mean, look, I could be doing this whole thing on my computer, but I don't. I've got a television camera in front of me. I have a monitor beside that so I can see what's on the screen. I've got a computer beside me here. I got another computer here. I have a light there. I have a light there. I got a TV monitor. I have a light here. There's a microphone coming from here. You know why? Because that's the deal. People expect that. I've had this going since before COVID. Because that's what I did. And now they go, well, boy, you're sure prepared now. No, I was prepared before I needed to be prepared. That's called, you talk about being a Boy Scout. That's like, be prepared before you have to be prepared. That would really be prepared. So when you do this sort of stuff, well, by the way, let me just say this. There's two kinds of practice. One is, I guess you have real world practice, and I'll go to that in a second, but so you can practice again out loud. By the way, Zoom yourself, record yourself, hear yourself talk. What does it look like? What does it sound like? And by the way, I don't like how I look. I don't like how I sound. I can't believe I do that. What's wrong with me? How come I talk like this? I don't know what it is. It doesn't matter. I don't like the sound of my voice. I can't, Jim, you can't make me do it. People talk. I know. I hated it too. Everybody does. And then one day you go, hey, you know what? That's me. I like that. And by the way, it is what it is. And that's what I'm going to be doing with it. That's me. Oh, so that's one thing, is to practice like that. Zoom, record yourself and play it back. And then you can delete it if you don't like it. Second way is just to practice with real life prospects. And that's really putting yourself to the test, succeeding sometimes and failing other times. But when you fail forward, learning what you can do better and then doing better next time, right? There's no losing, there's only learning, winning and learning. Give you an example. Mark Hanna, my buddy in San Francisco, will talk about this, former president of the $1 Million Roundtable. And Mark talks about, he says, if I want to practice a great idea, and he does all the time, because he's been doing virtual stuff for the last 20 years on stuff like Zoom. Now, Zoom hasn't been around that long, I don't think, not quite, but he's been doing virtual stuff for a very long time. He says, I'll practice on old prospects that didn't buy. Do you have any prospects that didn't buy from you, Dave? I don't know. Maybe everybody buys.
I got a few.
You might have a few. We always, by the way, don't ever throw them away. Right? They're better the second time than they were the first time, because now they know who you are. Or the third time, or the fourth time. I've got my buddy Mark Halpern up here in Canada, with whom I do some a program called Platinum. Mark says, I will keep calling them, pleasant persistence, right? I will keep calling them until they tell me to drop dead. But until such time, I will keep calling. Why? Because I know that prospecting is only offering to help. Offering to help. That's what we're talking about here. It's amazing. It really is amazing. So you keep on making that call. So with these ideas, more clients will take your calls. They'll agree to more appointments. They'll take your advice. They'll buy what you're selling. They'll refer you and they'll introduce you. And they won't move their business either. That Tinder guy is just too good to leave. I ain't going nowhere. That's what happens. And when you're more authoritative, you'll build your credibility, your brand, and your reputation on the street, and you'll take your business up to a whole new level. Now, Dave, I said I would spend 35 minutes, and it's been more than that, because I just think I'm having fun. So God bless us, everyone. Well, just give it a shot. But I want to leave you with a story that maybe some of you have heard, and maybe some of you have not heard. But it's a great story that applies perfectly to all kinds of advice like this. So it's the parable of the pebbles. One night in ancient times, 3 horsemen were riding across the desert. As they crossed the dry bed of a river, out of the darkness, a voice called, "Halt!" And they obeyed. The voice then told them to dismount, pick up a handful of pebbles, put the pebbles in their pocket, and remount. They again obeyed. The voice then said, "You have done as I have commanded. Tomorrow at sunup, you will be both happy and sad." Mystified, the horseman rode on. When the sun finally rose, they reached into their pockets and found that a miracle had happened. The pebbles had been transformed into diamonds, rubies, and other precious stones. Then they remembered the warning. They were both happy and sad. Happy that they had taken some, and sad that they had not taken more. You see, this is a very old story, and the author is unknown, but it's a very useful story for us today. And here's what I mean. You see, many times we get advice to take some action, and because we're busy, it sounds odd or we don't appreciate it, well, we just ignore it. And when that happens, we don't even know what riches we have passed up. We never do. Other times we get advice, we take it, and then we use it every single day, and our lives and our businesses multiply and change for the better forever. Sometimes we can multiply our results, and then what do we wish? Well, we wish that we had listened earlier or had done even more. You have an opportunity today, and anytime David has a program like this with people that are prepared to share their wisdom with you, And I hope some of this maybe comes off that way with you. But you can take the pebbles of advice offered to you. You can use them and discover that they are indeed precious gems. And they can help you take your business to heights that you've never even considered. And that's what happens. I've seen it. 150 to 350. From 350 of a client to $2 million. Because she takes the pebbles and makes them into gems. You know, it will make today, right now, the best time ever for you to be in this business. David, that's my story. I wish all of you, God bless you all. I wish the very best to all of you. I got some time till 2 o'clock. If you have any questions, please, I'll take anything.
Well, that was fantastic, Jim. Thank you. And with all of those topics, you could write multiple chapters for your book on each one, that's for sure. I had a couple of my own thoughts, and then I'll definitely open it up for questions. One of them was that I agree with you regarding the multiple choice aspect of presenting a solution. There is, I think, a middle ground that I happen to like. I got it from Erwin Burt Meisel, who used to write
I know. Yes, I knew him.
Yeah.
In Detroit. Of course.
Yeah, and he wrote a number of books. If you can find them, they're definitely well out of print. I know that his daughter is still the GA of an agency there. But what he would do is he would spreadsheet his options, but then he would color code them. And he color code them saying green is what I think is the best for you. Red is what you really don't want to do. And then he had all these other neutral colors for, you could throw those in there too. You know, so he had yellow and blue and whatever else. And basically green was often what was picked. And the way he did it, because he did like maybe 4 options on a page or maybe 3, he put green in the middle. Because no one wants to be on the outside. They want to go right down the middle. And if green looks the best, it makes the most sense. So there's a way to do multiple options, but still make sure that you have your opinion, you have your way of presenting it in there, showing that this is what I recommend, but you can do whatever else you want to do too.
Yeah, listen, you're right. And Meisel wasn't wrong at all, obviously. Burt was one of the best in his day. Absolutely. But here's, I think, the important point. I think, by the way, that was a long time ago. That probably goes back to the 70s. Some of that stuff to the 80s. I'm not sure. Bert's been gone for a very long time, at least out of the business. But,
yeah.
Is it just that long?
Just about, yeah.
Anyway,
passed around like 2009, 2010, somewhere.
All right, then let me just put it to you this way: if he's going to say down the middle, he would have A, B, and C, or he would. I remember he talked about watches. There'd be a Timex option on the left side. There would be a Rolex option on the right side. There would be the Bulova option down the middle, and everybody would kind of go in the middle. He was directing people to solutions. But I think you can always look. I think, and I didn't say that you shouldn't have options. Of course, you have to have them because you don't know what people will do. But here's something that we have a whole presentation about. In fact, I say, look, David, if money were no object, here are the things that I would do in your situation as it relates to your problem. I got a whole presentation on this. If money were no object. Now, before you get excited, I know that money is always an object. So we always have to tone this back based upon what you want to do and what you can do. But you're not wrong. Meisel was one of the greats of all time, but he was directing people to that stuff, and he was giving them their advice. Say, look, the one I think is you should do is the Boulevard on the middle. But if you have to, you can take the Timex, and if you want to, hey, the Rolex is a great option too. David?
Absolutely. And then I have one more part because your point 7, start strong when you begin. I love it. And I'm going to expose a little bit of the breakaway league stuff. One of the things we start off with is we start off with the wealth circle pie, and we start slicing a piece for that pie, saying how much of this pie of all of your wealth would you like to voluntarily give to the IRS taxing authority each and every year for the rest of your life? And we're looking for a certain answer. We're looking for them to say, you just don't bother slicing anymore. Just keep it right there. And then you want to end that conversation saying, if this is what you want, we can help you do it. We want to help you to keep that slice as little to as non-existent as possible. And if that's what we want, that's what we can work with and go ahead. So I love that, because we got to reemphasize that. Regardless of everything else that happens in the middle, you got to have your bookends, and everything else in the middle is how we're probably going to go around doing it.
Think of yourself, David, as performing a presentation. You're performing this. And if you're that good, you don't miss many. Absolutely.
So those are the things that just popped out. I definitely scribbled down some notes, but I'm looking forward to your your Word document so I can post that and I can
You'll
go
have
into
it?
further detail.
Okay.
I don't see any other questions right now, but please, if there's other questions or any other thoughts, I would love to open that up some more. Let me check on here. Stuart Hobden says hi. Uh,
My buddy Stuart.
oh, come on, there's got to be something out there. And Jane says,
Nope.
thank you, Jim. Thank you, David. Appreciate that, Jane.
Well, look, it's not a problem. If you have a question for me, you can ask me afterwards. My email is jr@jimruta.com, JIMRUTA.com. I'm sure David's got that. If you have a question specifically about that, you can find out more about all of this at advisorcraft.com. Also, I want to just say, David, that we do have a School of Life Insurance Sales, the SOLAS program. This is where you're not alone. It's our new group training program starting. It says, actually, it said here, I'll change this. It starts on March 1st of this year. We feature this time our debut guest is none other than industry icon Bruce Etherington, who is an extraordinary producer, been in the business for more than 50 years, top of the table for as long as it's been around, and is extraordinarily bright and has extraordinary way of helping people become more successful. So it's a whole new approach to sales training. We bring in top coaches, trainers, and sales experts to tell the story, and we're going all around the sales cycle. We're going to talk about every single thing because, frankly, I've seen, David, far too many people just don't know what to do, and that means they either won't try to do it, or if they do it wrong, and they don't succeed. It doesn't have to be that way. And by the way, this is a Canadian program, but the product will be available all around the world, and it already is going around the world. People, because it won't be Canadian sales ideas, it'll be just sales ideas. In the same way, I could give advice on the main platform, the $1 Million Roundtable. That advice is timeless and it applies regardless of the border. And it'd be so it's in Canadian dollars, which is why I made the point, which means it's next to free for you. So just give that a thought. We have an Essential Financial Security Advisors group on Facebook, which is also a little different than the one that we're on here. And if you're interested in me talking somewhere or speaking to a group of yours, I'm always happy to know. And that information will be at the back of the handout that I'll give David later on that you can download. David?
Perfect. Thank you. And I want to make sure I get to David Wolf's question here, but I also have some other thoughts I wanted to talk about regarding becoming more authoritative. But Dave Wolf, and he and I, we've been talking off and on here for the past few weeks, but his question is this: what advice would you give a 49-year-old coming brand new into the business?
Well, David, first of all, congratulations on taking a shot at this, because I think that's important. I think, it takes courage to do this. And if you've got that, that's a great first step. Let me tell you, to me, this is all about getting a simple system to start what you're doing. In my opinion, we can go too far afield, try to be a complete financial planner, try to do way too much. I think you want to start with something you like to do, something that makes sense for you. I know people who have made core of the table. I'll give you an example of a guy that I know, made core of the table, and all he did was sell kids insurance for kids. You go, I didn't even like the idea, but he did. And by the way, he said something else. He said, you know what, Jim, you'd be surprised how many 35-year-olds still need their daddies to buy them life insurance. So all of a sudden the story gets bigger. I think you want to start with a story. What interests you? What part of this? Look at what Van Miller does. He just asked those 5 questions, in his emotional fact finder. What do you want to happen when? What do you want to happen when you're, sick or disabled and you need an income? What do you want to happen if you had a heart attack, stroke, or cancer? What do you happen when you retire? What do you want to happen when you can no longer take care of yourself and you go into a nursing home? What do you want to happen when you die? And go into the depth behind those things and just help people out. One of the easiest things you can do, I think, today is to say, you know what? Would you have any objection, David, to reviewing your life insurance policies with me? One of the best questions you can ever ask, because it's a no means yes question. Would you have any objection to agree to sitting down and to reviewing your life insurance portfolio with me. That's one version. There's another version that works very nicely. My buddy Don White in Stuart, Florida uses this, top the table producer. He says, would you have any objection to sitting down with me so that I can show you what life insurance can do for you? And he says, I'll ask that thing 3 times. If they say no, I'll ask them 3 times and then I'll move on. I think that's the other thing you want to realize is that not everybody will buy now, but everybody can buy eventually. And when you're asking for help, when you're prospecting, you're only asking to help somebody else. So the idea of doing policy reviews and giving people a comprehensive list, look, just listing their policies. How many of you even have a comprehensive list of all your policies, who the companies are, what the premium are, what the total face amount is, what the cash value might be, what the loan value might be, what the beneficiaries are? You could also ask, has anyone given you a beneficiary audit of your financial portfolio? A beneficiary audit? What are you talking about? Well, it turns out, and this is a great story that Van tells. I'm not sure when he told this the last time when we were speaking here a year ago. But he said, it wouldn't be impossible for you to get remarried and have your first wife still be the beneficiary of all your life insurance policies. Like I did, he said. And then, he said, Pam made sure he slept on the couch for about a month because it was a substantial amount of money. But think about that, a beneficiary review, a policy review. My buddy Bruce Etherington makes most of his business on that idea. And you say, well, Jim, that's not very clever. You don't have to be clever. You only have to be interested. If you're interested in them, you will be interesting. But you've got to be interested in who they are. I hope that helps.
That's brilliant. I love that. And I've actually got a video on Yahoo Finance where what was it? The dad passed away and the new wife got everything, and the kids got nothing out of that $400,000 IRA. And they tried to sue for it. Can't sue for it. It's done by contract, not by will. So nothing to contest there.
It's David, it's one of the biggest things. And you wonder, well, what could I possibly say that could help? And by the way, the great thing, Mr. Wolf, here that I can see, the great thing about this is you can gather up all those policies, put them in a bag and take them home and go, what the heck do I do next? So you can do all your thinking, as Quick Draw McGraw would say, all my thinning at the office, and then put something together. And honestly, if all you did was put down in order, it probably has to be sort of, this way, not that way, a landscape style. Just let me know, this company, this face amount, that premium, total them up at the bottom. You've got 2 million, you've got 100,000. It is killer because nobody does it. There's a great story. It says, when all is said and done, there's a lot more said than done. And we think we have to be clever. By the way, what did Van Miller say about what he did when he first started, when COVID hit in the pandemic? They were locked down. He said, I was calling all my clients, asking them 3 questions. What were those questions? By the way, Tony Gordon said the same thing. I was coaching my clients to do the same thing, and we hadn't talked. What were those 3 things? Number 1, hey, David, it's Jim Ruta, your insurance guy. This is just a courtesy call. By the way, one of the great lines of all time. This is just a courtesy call. I'm checking in. Are you okay? Listen, answer, deal with it. Are you okay? 1. Number 2, do you need anything? Listen, just deal with it. Number 3, do you have any questions that I can answer? Well, yeah, they do it, whatever it is. Say, well, look, if you don't have any questions, I have a few. Would you mind? And then there are questions you can ask beyond there. But that's the simple thing. And what you discover, if you ask those 3 questions, even without asking any other questions, you're going to trip over business. So, I've been wondering, Dave, I've been thinking I should be doing something with my IRA, with my, whatever the heck it is. Well, what do you want to do? Right? That's where the wants question. What are you looking to have happen then? Why is that a problem? What makes you say that? So I'm just going deeper and deeper and deeper. into what they want. So I want X, Y, and Z. And you go, oh, we can do that. Let me put something together. I'll get back to you. Can we talk tomorrow at this time? Or would you prefer Monday at 3:00? Oh. By the way, another idea, Dave. Never leave one appointment without booking the next one. I don't care if it's a year from now. Never. Because, man, I can't get over how people will do this. Well, I'll call you in a couple of weeks, Dave, and we'll set up another time. No, you won't. Because I don't ever have to pick up the phone or even hear you or even no. Dave, it'll take me about probably 10 days to do this. When in a couple of weeks, when can you find me 45 minutes so we can sit down? I can talk to you about what we're doing today. I can make a presentation so you understand what I'm getting at here. When would be good? Say, let's talk, making up a date on the 24th of February. Would that be okay? Or would you prefer the 25th? Big deal in this business. Mr. Kinder.
Perfect. Absolutely. I think the only other thing left is something that we really didn't talk about much, which would be, I guess, your online presence. Maybe having more of a public relations type of a thing. I got a website. One day I want a book out there. I've got some social media stuff, and I only do it for one reason. If someone Googles my name, I want them to take a look and go, "Ah, he's real. He is in this business, and he just might know a thing or two." But yet I also look at Van. Like, well, Van has all of his stuff geared towards advisors. He doesn't have a public thing for that,
No.
and yet, it looks like you don't really need it. At the same time, I don't see that it can hurt any. Your thoughts on having more of a public relations image and all that stuff?
Yeah, a great question. And let's just talk about Van for a second. Van hit his stride before social media did. By the time when Van was running at full clip, he didn't need it. Look, you get big enough, doesn't really matter. And there's people like this, you don't have to have a social media presence. But this is what I was getting at. If you're Dave Wolf, on the other hand, and you're trying to figure out what to do, and I have my clients doing this now, they'll get involved on Facebook or on LinkedIn, and they will try to build a brand. Remember I said, be a thought leader? Be a thought leader. Okay. So you want to go narrow and deep, not broad and shallow. So start talking about anything. It doesn't have to be anything, and just provide advice. My buddy Bhupinder Anand joins groups on Facebook that relate to his marketplace. Now, obviously, he's part of our group here, Professional Life Insurance Agent Discussion. He's part of that, but he's part of all kinds of groups in the UK that are comprised of the kind of people he wants to work with. And then he provides advice and answers to those people, no charge, no obligation. And then what happens after a while, and this is why I said be a thought leader, after a while they go, well, gee, Ruta, you sound like you know what you're talking about. Which reminds me, I got a question. Can you answer such and such? I said, well, tell me, what do you want to do then? And I start asking life want questions. By the way, there are wealth want questions too on the wealth side of the coin, but there's enough of that out there. So that's the approach I take. I think it's important. I think you want to have a good LinkedIn page, a LinkedIn, page, whatever. It's probably a name for it, but I'm too old to remember. But a LinkedIn page, I think a Facebook deal is important. I only do two. I do Facebook and LinkedIn because I can't be bothered with the rest of it. When will I get to that? I can hardly get to this. And by the way, follow me. If you don't see me on Facebook, I've got more than 250 videos on Facebook. Sitting there. If you want to watch a video about how to be better in this business and you don't want to pay anything, you want to just take it and not give me any money, which is fine. No, but it is fine. It is fine. It's part of what I do. Yeah. It's part of why somebody knows who I am. Haven't I seen some of your stuff out there? Yeah, you have. There's literally 250. On March 1st, it'll be 5 years. I have never missed a Monday. 5 years. Never. So it really pisses my wife off when it's, say, Christmas morning or her birthday or a long weekend, and I'm at some cottage somewhere. Jim, really? You're going to do a Facebook video? Hi, it's Jim Ruta, and I'm yes, I am. You know why? Because I said I would. And that's the deal. If you're going to build a presence, don't start and stop, because it's horrible. It's like compound interest. If you start and stop, you always start off again at the beginning. Start and do it. My guys are doing about once a week is about the way it is. I had a client, potential client, just send me a note. I want to do one a week. Can you help me write a script for one a week? Yeah, sure I can. They'll pay, but I can do that.
And by
So
the
it's
way,
important.
make sure you subscribe to Jim Ruta's YouTube channel too. And if you're not subscribed to mine, definitely subscribe. I got 4,000 subscribers. I can't believe I have 10 times the subscribers you do. But hey, we're we're building this thing up.
You spend more time building subscribers than I do.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I need to spend more time doing more of what you're doing now.
See it all depends on what you want, David. What do you want from your business? More subscribers or more business? I'm just saying. That's dirty. I take it back. No, I don't.
No, but it's a fact, and I don't mind that.
Hey, look, right. And what does Van say? Van says most of us practice our hobbies more than our profession. Yep. And that's so true for all of us. Practice your profession, and you'll have more time, as he says, to spend on your hobbies.
Absolutely. Or insurance becomes your hobby. That's what Mehdi Fakhrizadeh said. Someone asked him, what are your hobbies? He says, selling insurance. Like,
yeah.
Okay. There you go.
People ask me, Ruta, when are you going to retire? From what? I love this. You know, my wife says, you're not going to work again. I said, well, it's not really work, is it? This is the best fun I have all week, is being here. I mean, think about this. I spend 5 hours a day in front of a camera like this, 5 hours a day.
Wow.
So it's practice. It makes a difference.
I got another question that came in. It's Miss Mares. I don't ask me to try to say your first name, but she says, I miss networking and face-to-face prospecting. What is the best replacement for that in this pandemic age?
Look, I think you need to keep making contact. Obviously, contacts are everything. I think, look, if you get to this book, Modern Appointments Setting by Gail B. Goodman. So honestly, it's $20, best $20 to ever spend. It comes from Amazon, but you can get it at phoneteacher.com. She talks about, and again, it depends on the business, and and I don't know what you're doing or how you're doing it, but here's the general drift. If the idea is that you need names, emails, and phone and mobile phone numbers. And I think today the prospecting you can do is going to be by text. I think texting is the way to do this. And what would even, I just keep using Van stuff because it's appropriate. And it's sort of almost included in that same deal. But, like Gail said to me one day, she says, Jim, if you and I want to talk on the phone one day, prospecting, what would you do? I said, I'd send you a text and we would arrange a time. Exactly. So we text people, when in the next 2 weeks, could you carve out 20 minutes for me? I want it so I can explain to you an idea that I think make a big difference in your business, make a big difference in your life, that'll help you do X, or that'll change. I mean, I talk about the third way prudent investors use life insurance that I don't think anybody ever talks about. I want to talk to you about that. But you do that. I think that's all you've got. I tell you what you don't want to do. You don't want to join up with people. You want to connect on LinkedIn. And David, you must have the same experience I do. You connect with somebody that looks innocuous enough, and the next thing you know, you're hammered by, well, I would like to talk to you about this. I just met Dave or Dave Wolf. And the next thing I know, he wants to sell me something. Never. That's where being a thought leader matters, where you want to build that up, tell a story, talk to people let them, but remember, you have to have a story to tell. And if you know what you're going to say, remember this, in our business, familiarity breeds confidence. So if you've got a presentation you do, then you will be confident. When you're confident, you will have courage to do those things. So focus on an idea that you like. Remember, I'll give you an example. My buddy Mark Halpern, for many years, ran a program. He had a company called, he still does, illnessprotection.com. And it was to sell critical illness insurance when it was brand new, going back to the mid-90s here in Canada. And I can tell you something, he hardly sold any. Well, he did sell a fair bit. I shouldn't say that, but that's not where he made his money. It was his door opener. It got the door opened. He sold all kinds of things beyond that, $1 million premiums beyond that. So I think get a story to tell and then tell it. So is that texting people for appointments? Is that talking to existing clients about what they haven't done? There's so many different ways, I think, about this, but talk to people you know. I've got something called a Project Forever. Make a list of all the people you've ever known from work, from your spouse's work, from your kids' school, from your charitable organizations, from your church, from whatever it is, temple, synagogue, whatever the deal is. Write that list down and then make a point of doing that. Well, what does Gail talk about this? She would say, it would start off with, David, I owe you an apology. What? Yeah, I owe you an apology. For the last 2 years, I've been involved in, I think, in one of the most exciting businesses in the world that makes such a difference to so many people. And I just never called you. I'd like to fix that. Would you mind if, when in the next couple of weeks, could you find 20 minutes that we can talk just over the phone or on Zoom or on Teams or whatever it is, so I can explain to you what that is and how you can win. Look, that's not brilliant talk, but that's what it takes. David?
Awesome. Absolutely awesome. And it's possible that maybe like a short little, I don't know about this, but maybe a short little video introduction might be helpful when you text somebody. I don't know. You might just need to test that. There's a video service that I've been just introduced to called lumen5.com. It's lumen, Lumen, and it's number5.com. You can create all kinds of things. It's free. And you can set them up, if you can do like a no more than 2-minute video of whatever it is, and you send it in an abbreviated link, that might be helpful if you're going to text somebody. So at least there's a little more context.
Hey,
I don't know. Something.
Dave, there's others like bombbomb.com does the same thing. Yes. But you could just do a video on Zoom, upload it to a 2-minute video on Zoom, upload it to, by the way, let's think about this. A script for 2 minutes is no more than about 175 words.
Yeah.
If you do it right, that's all you need. So you write it, you practice, and you'll get it right. And then you do it. Then you can upload it to YouTube on a private link, and then you can send the thing to anybody you want. It doesn't cost you anything to do that. Bhupinder Anand had a presentation just like that. He said there was about a 45-minute to an hour presentation he always did with every new client. He said it was trying to bug me because it was all video. And he had to do it the same every time. He said, so I did something a little bit different. I recorded one. And then when I was going to talk to my clients or my prospects, I would send them the link. I said, David, before I get to you, would you mind having a look at this video? And reading through that. So he sent it out about 50 times. He said within a month, it had more than 1,000 views. He said he got a call from Australia. Oh, I've seen some of that stuff, and bingo, people, he said, well, I can't help you in Australia. So it is a great idea. There are so many. Here's the deal. It's better to do anything than sit around all day wondering what to do. Sitting around doing nothing, go, well, I have to wait till inspiration hits me. The God of prospecting will be coming down upon me, and I will recruit, or I will sell my great prospecting God come down upon me. No, wrong. Doesn't do any of that. It's not even that. God wouldn't even do that. Hey, give me a shot at it. What's the old story? In a big storm, when you're in a boat, pray to God, but keep rowing to shore. It's the story I was told many years ago.
Well, John Savage, what he says, anything will work if you will.
And by the way, no ideas work except that you do. True.
Yes. Absolutely. And I mean, for me, I'm at the point now where I've got so many ideas. I need to hammer down to what I will do and keep consistent with.
And look, this is the biggest problem, Dave. You need one.
Yes.
You need one lead dog, one that'll get you in. What you can only carry one flag into battle. Use that. Now, what else might happen? That's something different. But you need to be known for something. If you're not known for something, what's the story? It really goes like this. It's that you have to know that you know, and then become known for what you know. That's the deal. And And if you think you can be known for everything, I mean, I tell you about Dave Ramsey, who I saw on TV the other day, make me not so happy. But you know what he's going to talk about every time, right? And that's his strength, not an
That's
idiot,
right.
as far as that goes.
He became a person of interest, and he is known for his message, and he's got a huge following that, well, we don't have millions of followers. Van might be close, but I don't think it's in the millions. So, all right. I've got one final is a private message of saying the book, I think Modern Appointment Setting book, is it for existing clients, existing acquaintances, or strangers? And I'm going to probably say all the above.
Yes. So for all of those things, it gives you, there are parts in all of this, face-to-face marketing. So this is marketing ideas and scripts. This is full of scripts. Trade shows, seminars, your natural market, canvassing, gatekeepers, company leads, target markets, business markets, about recruiting. Honestly, I have never, this is as good a book. I mean, I don't get any money from this. I'm not selling anything. But Gail is amazing. $20, best $20 you ever spent. Unless you buy one of my books, How to Win Friends. No, never mind. How to Win Sales. But
that's a great book. They need to buy too. That's at
but
the
what
top
a great combo deal. Now I'm getting stupid. Anyway.
I'm gonna find because Gail also did an MDRT presentation, and I know it's on SoundCloud. And as soon as I find it, I'm gonna throw it into the link here.
Well, and I can tell you that she did with me a 2-hour presentation. Was awesome. You can find it. You have to buy it, but you can find it at advisorcraft.com. It's amazing. Amazing. So I'm just saying.
Perfect. And I did find it. It's her presentation was called Telephone Tango, Getting Appointments in a No Pickup Culture. Yep. Although when I'm reading on things, apparently more people are picking up the phone than ever. But I mean, quite frankly, when I get calls from my doctor or my dentist and stuff, it's coming from numbers I don't know. And so I end up picking up more often than not. I just don't pick up when it says spam call. So I just, those ones I generally don't pick up. So I put that in the chat there, so it's there. And when I upload it to YouTube, I'll throw a link on there as well, so people can listen to that. But that was also very, very good. But she did say, not Gail, but the Miss Maris should say that she bought the book. So
yeah, and the website, I think someone was asking the website, phoneteacher.com. Phoneteacher.com.
Absolutely. All right. Well, we've gone over time, but unless there's anything else, thank you so much, Jim. This was great, and really appreciate it. And you're always energetic as always. I should have been standing up, but thanks for pointing that out. Okay, but all right.
This is called exercise for me, Dave. That's all I do.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I need to do more of that. Now, next month, we're going to have David McKnight, Power of Zero. We're going to be arranging for that. Also, what else am I going to think of? But anyway, we're going to upload this to YouTube, and Jim, I'll make sure I get you the recording of this as well, so you can have that. I'll put the links and everything. Jim, you're going to send me your notes so I could upload that. But I love this. This is, hey, I do all this for me. I wanted to hear this stuff. So really appreciate it. I think that's it. My mind is going blank a little bit.
Well, God bless you all. Thank you. It's a delight to be with you, David, always, and with all of you. And I guess, if you have any questions, you can find me. And I'd be happy to help out.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, and make it all a great day. I'm going to hit stop now.
God bless you all.